So, thank you all again for tuning in for another Hope at the End of the Tunnel podcast, where we are sharing real stories with real moms, real hope. And we're just going to share the mission. Then I'm going to kick it off to you, Joy, because we have something special that we're doing this month. So, our mission, we believe that every mother's journey is a story worth telling. And our mission is to empower mothers and women to embrace their authentic selves, break free from societal expectations, cultivate the courage to dream again through raw storytelling, faith-driven encouragement, and sisterhood support. We are helping women find connection, healing, and confidence to leave a lasting legacy.
Yes. I'm excited because as everyone knows, as Juanita just said, we are hope at the end of the tunnel, giving moms hope, right? Well, we don't discriminate at all. So this month, the month of June, Father's Day, we're doing special episode with fathers. I mean, you can't have kids without fathers, right? So with our special guest tonight, Mr. Andre George, go ahead and just let our viewers know a little bit about you.
Well, I definitely appreciate that introduction so much. Again, I appreciate you guys having me on the show. My name is Andre St. George. I am a father of four boys. I'm also a granddad. Yeah. My oldest son, he had two twins, a boy and a girl. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I've been in social services for the past 6 years. I made a transition back in right before COVID. I think COVID was in 2020. So right before that, I made a transition to do what I was currently doing, to get into working with kids. And from there, I was able to kind of open up the door and get into social services. And I've been facilitating programs, doing mentorship, doing after school programs, doing summer camps, things of that nature, but just working with behavioral youth and really giving them the tools and resources they need to just really develop, that youth development that they need to go on and start to live independently. So it's been a great run. We're actually doing some things now. We're actually getting started for a summer camp here in the middle of June. Well, next week, actually, we're getting ready for a summer camp. But it's been a phenomenal ride, very fulfilling, very rewarding. Built some great connections as well, and done a lot of community stuff, just with different organizations. I've done some work with juvenile detention centers, and I'm also a speaker as well as an author. So just kind of spreading the love, just kind of spreading the love out there. So
Right. So where are you from?
Originally from Hampton, born and raised, but I'm a military kid. So, kind of been bouncing around, been living abroad a little bit, here and there. But originally from Hampton, this is where my roots at, and this is where I originally came back to.
Okay. So that's where you are now. Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about fatherhood, right? Because I know that the work that you do in the community, well, maybe I can't say I know because then I would be assuming it. But the work that you do in the community, how much of that work has been because you are a father?
Well, it kind of started from, again, just me wanting to transition into something different. And it really started from me just wanting to be a speaker. And I started out in Toastmasters, really got acclimated in that and really got my feet wet in that. And one of my first speeches was talking about an incident when I was not even a teenager, but like a preteen, where I was bullied in school and, ended up bringing a knife to school and that whole situation. So I ended up talking about that, and just the response that I got from that kind of led me in that direction to want to work with kids. And I just started seeking out people that were already in that sector, already doing social services, or just already had organizations working with kids. And it kind of blossomed from there. So once I got in the door, I started seeing all these different things. And I tell people all the time, it's so much going on with kids right now that you wouldn't even imagine. Like I can just write a whole nother book about it just from what I've seen in the past 6 years. So, that's just kind of what propelled me into this type of work. And again, even if I wanted to get out, it's hard.
Yeah. I felt that because sometimes, we get tired and it's like, you want to get out your foot halfway there, and then you like, nope, can't get out because you know at the end of the day that the kids need you, and sometimes I can say this because I have an organization for 10 girls, and it's like you're the glue. If they don't have you, then they don't have anybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you see that a lot. I have kids that have gone on and they kind of aged out of the program, but they'll come back and be like, oh, Mr. Andre, hey, look, I'm doing this now. I got a job, I got an apartment, and man, I wish I would have listened to this. And, so it's that type of stuff that kind of really bridges the gap. You're like, okay, I can't leave now because somebody else needs me. So,
Right. I like that. All right. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced as a single dad?
um, biggest challenges. So for me, I'm always going to say this, for a good period of time, it was this co-parenting aspect of my boys would be with me sometimes. Sometimes they be with their mom. Sometimes they be with me. Sometimes they be with their mom. And I really think it's holding together the value, right? Because no parent parents the same. So you know what I'm saying? So when they were with me, see, I'm categorized as the stern, the strict parent. I'm very disciplined because again, I'm a military brat. So I have that stern discipline aspect when it comes to parenting. So when they're with me, it's one thing, but sometimes when they're with their mom, it's something totally different. So the biggest challenge for me was just being present in the times where I wasn't physically there. And that's something that I've always kind of like kicked myself about because, and we talked about this the other day, when when the other parent is you know when they have the kids or when they're doing their thing or whatever and they're kind of diminish what you're doing, right? Do you fight or stay silent? And for me, a long time, I stayed silent when things I didn't agree with or I didn't like what things were going. I stayed silent. So again, it's just something that I have always kind of kicked myself about. But I think it's the biggest challenge was being present in the time when I wasn't physically there.
Wow. That's a whole nother book within itself. So, how old are your boys?
So my oldest, he'll be 23 in August. I got an 18-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, started all over. Started all over. Yeah.
For sure, absolutely. So when you think about maybe the challenges that you face, how have you overcome those challenges or how do you work through them now? I know your kids, some of them are a little bit older, but now you have a 3-year-old. So how are you taking the lessons learned from the older kids and trying to implement new things now?
Mhm.
I look at it like this. I say this. I say God gave me another chance to get it right.
Wow.
With the youngest, I can kind of transition through the mistakes that I feel that I made along the way, and just do things better. And even with the ones that are older, there's still gaps where I'm working to connect better with them, and because I mean, can I be transparent? Can I
Please,
As you
that's what this is
should.
all
Yeah, can I
about.
be transparent here? So my 18-year-old, he's currently serving 5 years, and that's a tough aspect in itself because it's nothing that I can do or his mom can do to really help him like we want to. So just dealing with that, but again, just being there for them in that time, him and my 22-year-old, and again, he's a father now, so just giving him life tips and helping to guide him along the way, and so he doesn't make some of the same mistakes. So again, it's more so picking up where I feel like I left off, and just still trying to fill in the gaps and the voids, so the connection doesn't spread out too much to where now it's unrepairable.
Absolutely. I definitely appreciate the transparency because there's somebody that's maybe dealing with the same thing. And I appreciate it because the work that you do, you're a social worker, right? So my dad worked for social services for years.
Right.
So we had foster kids, we've had adopted siblings as well. And transparency, so my older brother, he also served time. So for my parents, you look at it like, well, what is it that I did wrong? And you think about those things, but sometimes it isn't anything that we as parents did wrong. That's just the road that they have to take. That's their testimony. That's their journey. So hopefully they learn from their lessons and then they can pour that back into the next generation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I agree.
Wow. So how do you balance work, life, parenting, all of that stuff?
I got a good support system. You know, I got a very, very good support system. And then that's something else I think that as a what do I want to say? As people, I feel like we've lost touch of that village, right? Like because we're so skeptical, we don't trust, we don't you're like, nah, you know what? Nah, I don't want nobody in my business. And all those different variables come into play. But hey, listen, I don't care who you are, what you're doing, it's hard to do life alone. And I really utilize my village and the people that are around me. Mom, sister. Uh, I am in a relationship, so we help each other. So it's just people playing their part, but I think it's also the communication aspect of, hey, here's my intention, here's what I'm looking to do, here's where I'm going, right? So nobody's really just left in the dark about what's going on.
Right. I want to say something real quick. Let's just touch on this, and this is totally not scripted. But at what point can we say that village stop? Because it does take a village. But I'm just trying to figure out, where did the disconnect come from? Because parents now, like, if you were showing out, the lady down the street could tell you, hey, don't do this. But now it's like, parents, you can't tell these kids nothing. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, where did that do either one of y'all know, like, where that disconnect came from?
Well, Juanita, I'll let you jump in, but I'll answer after you.
I honestly don't think I have an answer to that question because so I have my son early, he's 17 now, but I have friends who are like aunties to him. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Like I feel like he had a pretty big village. So for me, I don't know. I will look at your kid in the grocery store and give him that mom look if he's at. So I don't know.
Right.
I think that mom look for some it still does what it needs to
It
do,
does.
but for others, and kind of going back to Joy's point, I think the disconnect now happens because there's such an unruly take from kids now to where, hey, look, they don't respect other adults. So even if I was to say something, they don't respect it enough to even, well, you ain't my mom, you ain't my dad. I ain't gotta listen to you. And I've seen that in certain instances where like kids, man, they'll cuss out an adult. Like if you say the wrong thing. So adults now are more like, hey, look, I ain't even gonna get into it. Like I ain't gonna touch it because I don't want a parent to come back and be like, oh, well, you said something to my kid, or you touched my kid, or you did. Hey, look, there was a point in time where that wasn't the case. Whereas, hey, if the village had the discipline, hey, the parent was on board. Like, yep, I'm glad you did that. I appreciate you doing that. It's not that anymore. So I think that's where the connection really died because we're not a village as a people. We're very selective now. It's like, nope, not my kid. Even though your kid ain't doing what they need to be doing,
Okay.
But you
you
better not
you
say
still
nothing.
ain't. So
Yeah.
that's what I feel like.
Listen, and I made this may be starting a fire. I don't know, but I think that sometimes you just have to address certain things. So when we think about fatherhood, right, and we think about how society, and we'll talk about Black fathers. We can say that because I this is my community, so this is where I see it, where we try to maybe pull the fathers out of importance. And I think that's probably the chain that started to break the village, if you think about it. So I think that that may have something to do with it as well, because if we don't respect the father, then why would we respect anybody else to tell our kids anything?
That is a fact. That is a fact.
I might be reaching, but that might be somewhere where we need to start.
Yeah.
Okay.
On our last show, one of the topics we talked about is, do fathers get a bad rap? Like, dads get a bad rap these days.
They do.
There's so much circulating. There's a dark cloud around fathers right now.
Yeah.
And, it's definitely something that has to be talked about because, again, there has to be a respect on both sides. It can't just be one-sided. So,
Yeah. And I mentioned something on the last podcast, and I think that as women, we have to be the ones that have the conversation even more. Because we're the ones, not us, because that's just not my ministry to tear down fathers, Black fathers at all. I was raised by a phenomenal one, so there's no way in the world I can go and tear down a father, especially good, right? Because there are a lot of phenomenal fathers out there, and I think that maybe we just need to start trying to shine the light on that a little bit more. So I think it's going to lead into my next question. So what advice would you then give to single fathers out there who maybe like sometimes just want to throw in the towel because like, is it even worth it?
I mean, it's always worth it because, I mean, that's your blood, that's your seed, that's you, right? And it's crazy because my 14-year-old, so he's a part of a mentorship program at his school, and he's been in that program since the 6th grade. Well, he's about to go to the 9th grade now, so he's been in there for 3 years. And I don't know, it was every quarter or every so often they do like this fatherhood luncheon. So we just did one this past Saturday, and I'm sitting at the table with my son, and I'm just kind of scanning the room, and I just saw the oddest thing. It was a bunch of fathers and father figures sitting with their sons, but nobody was communicating with one another. Father might be looking at the phone, son looking at the phone, or they staring off into space, or they just looking around, but nobody was really communicating. So my advice is, and it's always kind of been this, is, hey, you got to find a way to connect. Right? I think the communication piece is what's really lacking between father and sons, because again, as a father, your first thought in your mind is, oh, I gotta provide, I gotta work, I gotta go do this, I gotta do that, I gotta, I got, like, I'm always on the go, I'm always moving around. Well, he sees that, and he sees like, well, my dad ain't present, or my dad ain't around, or my dad, he always busy. So when I got questions, or when I got something, or when I need something, where I'm gonna go? My dad always busy. So I really think it's the connection piece, and just really building a relationship, a solid relationship, to where you guys can communicate and talk. And that's really what I'm learning more of day by day, as I spend more time with mine. So again, I just feel like the youngest one now, it's my turn to do things over again and do them the right way. But that would probably be my biggest piece of advice. Manage your time in a way that, hey, you can really give your sons or your daughters just some real special time to where you guys communicate and learn more about one another. Because kids don't know much about their parents. They don't know much about their parents. And I think if they did, that relationship would be a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Wow. So despite all the challenges that you may have faced, how do you keep that strong relationship with your kids?
Um, just time. I mean, it isn't an overnight process, right? It's just built on time, but it's more so me meeting them where they are. So like my 14-year-old, he's very into sports,
Mhm.
basketball. So last season, I got him a coach, and we were doing some training throughout the summer, and he joined the AAU, and I'm at every single game, and we're going to the gym, me and him working on stuff. So again, it's just that time and that building that we're doing. So yeah, that would probably be my answer to that. Just more time, and like I said, with that, and it wasn't just sports; it was school too, and
Mhm.
that's something I really respect about my son. Um, as he was going through, he was having some issues in math, so he came to me and was like, "Hey, Dad, I think I need a tutor."
Oh, I remember.
Hey, that's all I need to hear. I got it. So
Right.
again, that was a way for us to spend more time because I'm on every tutoring session with him. So it doesn't feel like he's there by himself. You know what I'm saying? We're kind of working through some stuff as well. So again, it's just really meeting them where they are, finding ways that you can uh, uh, just put yourself in their life and just spend
Mhm.
more time.
Do have something that I want to ask really quick. So, what about the fathers that, and you may not experience this at all, but you may know how to answer this question. Give a suggestion. What about, because it sounds like you co-parent, am I right?
Yeah.
You co-parent well. What about those fathers that can't co-parent? Because you have some bitter baby mamas out there, right? Some bitter women that, the child wants to see the dad, but the mama won't let them. Like, at what point does the father get tired? I mean, does that make sense what I'm saying? I mean, you're not supposed to get tired of your child, but I mean, you've done everything that you can do, but the mama keep pushing back. The child is 5 years old, don't have a cell phone to call. Give a father some advice if you have some, please.
Real
That's
life.
that's tough. Yeah, that's tough. I went through something similar, but it didn't really turn out as bad as certain situations that you've probably seen in the past. But my advice to fathers that are going through that is, I mean, you only have but so many options. And if you can't talk it out as adults, you guys can't come to some type of common ground because usually it's one or two things. Either, and going back to what you said, the bitterness, right? Because the door wasn't closed.
Mhm.
Like if you guys are no longer dealing with it, somewhere the door wasn't closed. So I believe that's where the bitterness comes from. And the other thing is financial. It always comes back to financial. So either do more than what you're being asked to do, or you're gonna have to find some way to, and I don't want to say go legal, but if that's what you got to do to see your kid, that's what you got to do, right? Because going back to what I said earlier about staying silent or fighting, I think that dads don't fight enough because they don't want the headache, they don't want the hassle, they don't want to, like, because a lot of that we don't want to deal with. But what happens in the end, once the kid gets older, now they like, well, dang, Dad, why you ain't fight for me? Or,
Right.
like, did I not mean enough to you to, you just let it go? You didn't. So, and that's kind of how I thought about things. So, I was again able to kind of come through that. But for somebody that's dealing with that right now, hey man, you got to exercise whatever options you got.
Mhm.
Absolutely. This is good because a lot of people are definitely they're facing those things You're thinking about throwing in the towel. So it's like real life scenarios that people face on a daily basis. So if you think about when you had your first son, right, to where you are now as a father, has your perspective on fatherhood changed at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, man. Because yo, when I had when I had my first son, I was 21 years old. So I was still a baby myself, for real, for real. And I didn't. It's crazy, and it's crazy you asked that because it just made me go back to that time for a second. um, when I had my first son, I was scared to tell my mom. I was scared to tell her because I just didn't know how she was gonna react. I didn't know what to do really. Um, but I figured it out. But again, like I was talking about earlier, the first thought in your mind is, oh man, I gotta work, I gotta do this, I gotta provide, I gotta buy this, I gotta do. So again, that's all I was focused on was, hey, look, I gotta work, I gotta take care of this kid. Um, but my perspective then, 21-year-old me, 40-year-old me, way different change. Because now it's more of a family structure for me. It isn't just, well, I'm just a dad. No, I'm a father. I'm a family man. You know what I'm saying? It's more family now, and how can I keep them together and give them what they need? Because the world has changed. It's very different, and you know, not to not to stereotype this, but as a young black male, you got strikes against you already.
Yeah.
And to be able to survive in this world, look, you got to have the necessary resources. So I never want them to feel like they're without those things. So again, the whole dynamic and the perspective for me has definitely changed.
Wow. That just took me somewhere because we have conversations with our young black boys, sons, that other people don't have to have.
Right.
And I was literally having this conversation today, like today, to my manager that is white, and she was like, "That's true." She's like, "I understand what you're saying," and it's sad, but it's the reality that we live in.
Yeah.
You real deal. We have to have different conversations. So, what are some resources that if people need it, do you know of anything right off the top of your head that you know that may have helped you along the way that you're willing to share?
Resources as for what do you mean?
I think maybe referring to maybe resources for fathers.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um there is man, there's a lot of organizations out there that are doing the work. Um, one off the top of my head, very good guy, man. I can't really think of his name right now, but I can get it to you. But he has an organization called New Collar, Nucollar, New Collar, and he's based out of Richmond, and he does a lot of mentorship, working with fathers, working with teenagers and stuff like that. Very very good guy, based out of Richmond. Actually, he had some events up there, and I touched base with him. Um, and there's some other organizations, man, I can't think of the name of them right now, but they do a lot of events where, like, fatherhood initiative, they're working with some of the young fathers in the juvenile detention center that are being set to be released, and they've never even seen their kids or even spent time with them. So just working with them and helping them. So yeah, there's a bunch of different resources out there and people that are doing the work. You just got to really be out there, be networking and finding the right people to connect you.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And I know for sure. So when it seems like it's just easier for mothers to find the resources, but for fathers, they just don't seem as accessible to know where to look. Not
Right.
everybody knows how to network. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody comes from that entrepreneur background where you know how to get out there and you know how to network. So there has to be a way where we can get those resources out to them, because fathers matter too, right? So if you think about co-parenting, the child is at should be the child splits time, right? The child is with the mom some of the time and then with the dad some of the time.
Right.
So why are the resources seem like they're just geared to help the mother get ahead and be successful, but the father has to struggle to get ahead and be successful?
I think, and that's a great question. But the mother programs, they're more publicized, right? They're all over the place. Like you ain't really got to look hard and you can find them. You know, they're
Right.
always being presented to you all the time. You know, and again, going back to the question that we had, hey, do fathers get a bad rap? Do dads get a bad rap? It's because the things that are in place, the resources and stuff that are in place, they aren't necessarily within arm's reach. Like you got to do some digging. You got to know some people that's doing this stuff already to really find those resources or be connected in those circles, or else you just out there. One of the things that the organization that I'm partnering with now through social services, um, they're doing some stuff with fathers, right? Again, that whole fatherhood initiative, social services, they're always looking for men to work to come into that space and work, because again, social services, when you think about it, you think female dominated, right? So they're always looking for men because they got fathers coming into social services because they're single fathers. They got young men who need mentorship. So there's aspects through that division that are catered toward fathers and young men. So that's a resource there as well. But just through that, you can start to connect and build with other people who can open the door for you to other organizations and resources that you may not know of.
And I'm gonna just say one more thing, Joy, and then you can take it. And I think that maybe just not being afraid to ask for help or
Oh, yeah.
to have the village. And that may have something to do with it as well. So on our end, as hope at the end of the tunnel, we want to make sure we don't just like get the information out there for moms to be successful, but we want fathers to be successful too because of the children. And I just look at my own situation. If certain resources maybe have been available, you might be in a different situation. You may be a little bit more present. So it's just that type of awareness that just made me think like, well, why isn't it more accessible for the fathers? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a key thing, man. Definitely got to ask for help because pride and ego gets you nowhere. Gets you nowhere.
Right. So, what are some misconceptions people have about single fathers?
Misconception. That we don't know what we're doing. that we don't know what we're doing. We can't handle the load. And listen, no disrespect to the mothers. Shout out to the mothers, man. Respect you wholeheartedly. You do what you do. We could never be you, right? But there are fathers who can carry the load. You know, there are fathers who can carry the load. So I think the biggest misconception is that, you know, we don't know what we're doing, or hey, look, we're not fully equipped to handle, or you know, we're just unfit or unprepared, right? But hey, listen, I my mom, shout out to my mom, because in my situation, my dad wasn't present for a good little while. You know, now we're in the stages of rebuilding, and you know, we talk and you know stuff like that. But at the time, my mom was pretty much teaching me everything. So I learned the resilience from her and just how to really take care of myself. So now I'm able to do all things.
That's right.
And I teach my sons that same thing to where, hey, it's not, I'm not telling you to just do it by yourself. Like, you don't need anybody else. Hey, it's good to have somebody else, but in the event that you don't, you can still take care of everything on your own. So that's how I've been raised, and that's what I continue to instill in them.
Wow.
Absolutely. This has been a great conversation. And I know like each question is like, oh, we need to talk about this. But we want to make sure that we respect your time. So we probably have to get you back on. But I did just want to ask you, so what's been one of the most rewarding parts of being a dad?
Man, you know what? Can I read y'all something really quick?
Of course.
Yeah. And I think this will really answer that question. So we know that Father's Day is coming up, right? And my 14-year-old, he sent me a message because he thought Father's Day was yesterday.
Oh,
So I'm gonna read you the message he sent. Happy Father's Day, Dad. I hope you had a magnificent day today as a proud father of 4. I am grateful for everything you have done in my life, and I wish I can repay you back for all the things you have done in my life. I know I can't repay you, but I know I can give you thanks and continue to do what's right and make you proud and God proud. Again, I wanted to wish you a happy Father's Day. I hope that you enjoyed every part of the day. Remember, I am forever grateful for everything you do through the ups and downs. You are the best dad a kid can ask for, and you are doing great at parenting. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I love you and have a great rest of your day.
Mic drop.
That right there.
Mic drop.
Hey. And he's 14 and he put that together and sent that message to me. So
oh,
that's what I do it for.
yes.
That's deep. That's very deep. That explains you, for your 14-year-old son to be able to recognize you're great at doing his parenting thing. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'll marinate on that for a minute. So, but I do want you to give any single fathers out there advice. Do you have any advice? One last word that you want to tell any single fathers out there? Wow.
Stay the course, right? You know, a lot of us had our own issues with our parents or with our fathers, right? Like I just said, my dad wasn't really present, but my uncles, my brother, they were kind of major impacts in my life that kind of helped me through that. So again, if you dealt with that prior to you being a parent, just understand, hey, look, it gets better. So stay the course, right? Spend as much time as you can and make sure that not only are you following God, but have God in your life somewhere, right? Like, have him in your life somewhere. And I think if you take care of what needs to be taken care of, everything else will fall in place. Because I mean, look, you can only do but so much. And again, if you take care of what needs to be taken care of, everything else will fall in place. And those type of messages will come, and you won't even know it, because you're so focused on building up that next generation, right? Your seed, your legacy. So again, just stay the course, do what you need to do, and everything will work out, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time out and sharing and pouring in and reminding us, right? Reminding us of how important it is for fathers to be present and for us to make sure that we create a welcoming space, right? I think that that's important for us to make sure that we do. But we do want to make sure we give you that opportunity to share how we can connect with you. We know you do some great things in the community. So if you can share that info.
Yes. Again, I just want to, give y'all flowers while y'all can still smell them. Y'all doing great work here. I definitely appreciate you, having me on as a guest. Love to come back and join you guys sometime. Definitely got to get y'all on my show as well, right? We have a podcast called Parenting Next Gen. That's on all streaming platforms, as well as TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. So you can reach me there. Also, Andre St. George on all platforms. You can also reach me there. My company, Speak to Educate. That's the company I do a lot of work in the community with. And also, I'm gonna have to send you guys a copy of this. Right? I created a 30-day journal. It's called Parenting Made Peaceful.
Wow.
Yeah, and in this journal, it has different excerpts each day with like daily task, daily scriptures, and stuff in here where you can kind of jot down different ideas and stuff. So these journals, right, are available as well. So definitely, I'm gonna send you guys a copy. Parenting Made Peaceful Journal.
Yes, and look, those are the resources we want to make sure that we have a link to on Hope at the End of the Tunnel website, because those are
Yeah, you can pick those up at my stand store right now. So I'll send you that link.
absolutely. Thank you so much. Oh, listen, we could go on, y'all. So we'll make sure we get you back on at another time, because I know that there's definitely some more impactful conversations that we can have. But we want to make sure, please go and connect with Andre on social media. And then when you listen to this episode, make sure you subscribe, of course, like, share it with someone, share it with a father who needs to hear it, share it with a mother who needs to hear it, and leave us a comment. Leave a comment and let us know one thing that you took away from the episode. And until next time, take care.
Yeah.